I've met an awful lot of people interested in the UK market who either weren't interested when they arrived at Intersolar or have been eyeing it for a while and started to realise actually the political and the financial environment for the foreseeable future is one that they want to be part of and explore. So as a consequence, I think there's an awful lot of interest in the country, and as a consequence the supply chain that feeds that country. So for people like myself, it's been incredibly useful. So we got involved in renewables back in the mid-90s with wind, a little bit of large-scale biomass. As landscape architects, doing landscape and visual impact assessments, initially ecology and graphic representations, montages. And we've gradually expanded to the point now where I, as a planner, and my fellow planners back at the office can lead renewable energy projects, particularly solar. All my work is solar at the moment. And what we do with developers is to help them understand the relative risks on a portfolio of sites, its chances of gaining a consent, what the costs are likely to be, and so on. And to take that then, guide them through the planning process, the environmental consenting process, to hopefully a consented scheme and beyond. But we work with landowners to help them understand what their opportunities are for renewables. So we're working for a number of very large landowners at the moment, looking at the viability and feasibility of a number of schemes, renewable energy projects of different types, and then again the idea is that we can help them take that through the planning process to a successful consent. With solar particularly, grid is the biggest challenge generally speaking, but planning needs to be thought about right at the beginning. For many in this country, in the UK, planning is something which is complex and for the most part changing on a fairly regular basis. Certainly when you get a new government, but even within government it seems to be a constantly changing process. So that's difficult. And you've got the added necessity, particularly as it becomes more challenging to get consents in part of the country. We need to be managing the relationships with the community and help them to understand the benefits. There are certain developments, there are certain parts of the country, and there are certain landscapes in which it's never going to be such an acceptable form of development. It's going to be more visible. So every landscape has a different character, and part of our role is to say, well, Site A is in an area where actually the landscape can accommodate a fair degree of change, certainly the degree of change with a solar farm, without too much impact on its sensitivity. There are other parts of the country where it's always going to be more difficult. So part of our role will be to advise on either avoiding those areas or helping them to design the project so that they achieve a balance between a maximised yield and a scheme that's most likely to get consent. So it might be a smaller scheme as a consequence, or it might be a scheme that has landscape features like planting of trees or hedgerows. And it's about helping them to deal effectively with the process, reduce their risk, but also minimise the expense of that application process. So it is becoming more difficult in some parts of the country, but Greg Barker is right. It is still a technology that's supported. And for us as a profession, and for the solar industry at large, existing entrants, new entrants to the market alike, it's critical that they take this part of the process seriously. And so that we learn from the mistakes of the wind industry that only really took it seriously when planning and the environment became a problem. I've been pleasantly surprised by the attitude of many of our new clients who recognise that there is problems here, probably because they've heard about the problems of technologies, and so they've taken it seriously from that standpoint. Our job as newcomers come into the market who maybe have no experience of the UK at all is to help them realise that there is a stewardship role, if you like. They have a responsibility that comes with developing, and for everyone's benefit long term, we must be developing good projects in the right location, sensitively designed.